Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 5, Seeking Immortality in the Eastern Sea. Volume 5 Pinyin Donghai Xuan Xian. Chapter 44 481 Kuru Bird. 44th of Volume 5. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Wu Hongling would never believe him. She had witnessed the battle firsthand. It was clear that this man had feigned weakness, luring Huoxin to the seabed before suddenly revealing his true strength and catching him completely off guard. Chongji Daozi had met the same fate, killed with lightning speed while believing he had the upper hand. Escape was impossible. There was no chance to activate life-saving trump cards. Wu Hongling spoke with genuine sincerity, don't you take it seriously. Huoxin's master is a transcendent of the Rice Palace. Normally, one must reach the immortal realm to become a transcendent's disciple. Now do you understand why I've been hunting you? If I didn't capture you, the higher-ups would have punished me. Li Wei remembered clearly that during his karmic fire transformation beneath the sea, Huoxin had pressed his palm against his ancestral field in a moment of desperation. He was deeply concerned that Huoxin's ancestral field might contain a terrifying power. When retrieving the Dao fruit and absorbing the blazing ember divine flame, he would need to proceed with extreme caution. She continued, among all the young prodigies from the Rice Palace who came to the East Sea this time, Huoxin ranks among the top 10. You're stronger than him, so you must be exceptionally talented. Your future achievements will be extraordinary. What about you? Where do you rank? Li Wei asked. Wu Hongling replied, I'd say fourth. Above me are two true disciples and my elder sister. The two true disciples can defy the natural order by crossing two realms to defeat opponents in the Dao Seed realm. By the ninth heaven, they've cultivated their immortal bodies to 99% completion, making them virtually invincible below the immortal realm. Li Wei asked curiously, from what I know, most young celestial emperors don't linger in the ninth heaven to refine their bodies. They break through directly. As true disciples of the Rice Palace, they shouldn't lack immortality pills, right? Wu Hongling explained, true disciples are different. They must cultivate their immortal bodies in the Dao Seed realm. Only then will their combat power in the immortal realm increase by 1 or 2%, and their chances of breaking free from the immortal shackles will also improve by the same margin. Don't underestimate that 1 or 2%, it's the defining difference between true disciples and ordinary disciples. Moreover, upon becoming a true disciple, one gains access to true scriptures, immortality pills, herbs, Dao techniques, wealth, status, and power far surpassing those available to non-true disciples. Even though both true and non-true disciples are considered young celestial emperors in the Dao Seed realm, the gap between them widens exponentially over time. Ultimately, in the immortal realm, only true disciples can defeat opponents a realm above their own. Non-true disciples are likely to only dominate within their own realm, regressing to the level of top chief-level geniuses. Li Wei could sense her burning ambition to become a true disciple. Once someone reveals their desires, they expose their weaknesses. Is cultivating the immortal body difficult? Li Wei asked. Wu Hongling replied, it's not difficult for martial mystic cultivators in the immortal realm. But for those in the Dao Seed realm, it's as difficult as ascending to heaven. It wastes immense time, and even then, most will stall at 99%, unable to generate that unique surge of blood. That surge of blood is the immortal body's greatest weapon against immortals. Li Wei had once believed the demon child had cultivated the immortal body, but now it seemed unlikely. The demon child's breakthrough in Lingxiao City had been rushed. After his breakthrough, the gap between his combat power and Tang Wanzhou's remained significant. Their current state was peculiar. Like old friends who had known each other for years, their sincerity palpable, their conversation flowing smoothly, yet separated by a distance of several hundred feet. Wu Hongling sighed softly, let's stop deluding ourselves. Instead of wasting time cultivating the immortal body, we should focus on breaking through to the immortal realm sooner. Once we reach that level, everything will change. They're back. Big Phoenix and the Bone Spirit descended from hundreds of feet above. It's too hard. The deeper we dig, the harder it gets. The rock layers are like metal, and golden flames keep erupting. What do? We might really be trapped here. Big Phoenix communicated the situation to Li Wei telepathically. Meanwhile, after hearing the Bone Spirit's report, Wu Hongling's expression turned grave as she looked at Li Wei. We can't afford to remain enemies. We need to work together to escape. I've made an extraordinary discovery on the stone wall, something I didn't want to share with you. But perhaps we should study it together. Li Wei remained wary, refusing to be lulled by her sudden display of goodwill and sincerity. Words were cheap, everyone could spout them effortlessly. But would she truly share a major discovery? Li Wei brought the 7 little ones, the purple heaven thunder seal never leaving his hand, and followed Wu Hongling to the base of the stone wall, maintaining a distance of at least 30 meters. Wu Hongling pointed, I saw a similar carving in an ancient scroll from the Rice Palace. It depicted the Holy Spirit with two heads, one for dawn and one for dusk, the most supreme being in the universe, a sovereign from the ancient immortal giant beast era. The fact that his carving appears here. Do you understand what this means? What does it mean? Li Wei asked. Wu Hongling replied, we've fallen into an unimaginably terrifying realm, where our lives are in constant danger. Look at the mark above the Holy Spirit's neck. Legend says it contains billions of transformations and can reveal the great Tao to immortality. Her spiritual qi stirred subtly within her, waiting for Li Wei's soul spirit to be influenced by the Buddhist mark. The moment he was vulnerable, she would seize the opportunity to strike him down. Li Wei had already noticed the Buddhist mark. According to legend, the Buddha's hands, feet, and chest each bore this mark, 5 in total, symbolizing his boundless divine powers and mastery over all things. Even a single glance at the mark made Li Wei feel its extraordinary power, as if the great sun were shining down upon him. Within the Tao ancestors' Tai Chi fish, the sea of scriptures was divided equally between Buddhist scriptures and Taoist scriptures, making comprehension extremely challenging for Li Wei. At that moment, the Buddhist scriptures he had previously studied seemed to have their dust washed away, like clouds dispersing in the wind. Each Buddhist character became clear, its meaning instantly discernible. Above the 12 manifestation Tao lotus in Li Wei's divine gate, a radiant golden Buddhist light surged forth, giving birth to one golden Buddhist character after another. His cultivation advanced at an astonishing rate. Wu Hongling frowned. She watched as an increasingly brilliant golden light emanated from Li Wei's body, accompanied by the resonant chanting of Buddhist scriptures. She didn't dare act rashly. His eyes were clear and bright, showing no signs of being ensnared. Moreover, his psychic power remained vigilant against her. After only a brief period of time, Li Wei felt tremendous gains. He gazed deeply at Wu Hongling, who stood nearby. This Tao imprint is truly extraordinary. Thank you for sharing it, immortal maiden Hongling. Would you like to study it together? It's not quite suited for me, she replied. You continue cultivating. I'll explore elsewhere. This way, you won't have to remain on guard against me, as if I might harm you. Seeing that Li Wei had genuinely gained insights, Wu Hongling felt a pang of frustration, as if she had woven her own trap. Her fingers clenched tightly, and the urge to strike grew overwhelming. Li Wei stared at Wu Hongling's retreating figure. If she hadn't nearly killed him earlier, he might have doubted his own petty suspicions. He continued his comprehension. Half a day later, the Buddhist light radiating from Li Wei grew increasingly intense. His right palm burned hot as golden spiritual power surged from the Lao Gong spring acupoint. A Buddhist Tao mark imprint materialized, flickering faintly. Another half day passed. A second Buddhist Tao imprint appeared on his left palm, the hand burning as if engulfed in blazing ember divine flame. Wu Hongling stood on the cliff opposite the stone wall, molten lava flowing beneath her feet. Her teeth clenched in frustration, she could no longer wait. The red silk ribbons around her body fluttered more and more urgently. This Buddhist Tao imprint was no ordinary symbol, she had seen it in ancient scriptures, a subject of study even for the ancient immortals. As Wu Hongling's attention remained fixed on Li Wei, a human head silently emerged from the shadows behind her. Its features were grotesquely distorted. Long, disheveled hair, prominent cheekbones, green eyes, and sharp teeth. A human head atop a bird's body, complete with featherless twin wings. Sensing danger, Wu Hongling immediately activated her protective spiritual qi and lashed out with her red silk ribbons. Boom! The human-headed bird-bodied monster was sent flying. It let out a piercing, inhuman shriek, tumbled several times, then lunged forward again. Its physical defenses were astonishingly formidable, rivaling those of a 4th or 5th stage immortal body. The malevolent demon bird, Ku Ru, Wu Hongling murmured. She looked up to see more Ku Ru birds emerging from the gloom, their dark silhouettes multiplying rapidly. A chill ran through her as she immediately soared toward the opposite stone wall, drawing the flock toward Li Wei. Li Wei had already sensed the commotion. He saw a grotesque creature with a human head and avian body flying toward him, its stench of decay filling the air. Without hesitation, he struck out with a palm strike. A golden Buddhist Tao imprint slammed into the Ku Ru bird with a resounding boom, sending it reeling backward. The imprint branded itself onto the creature, impossible to shake off. The bird flapped its wings frantically, fleeing with piercing cries as golden Buddhist flames erupted across its body. It finally burned to ash 7 or 8 miles away. Witnessing this, Wu Hongling gained a deeper understanding of the Buddhist Tao imprint. Even the elemental nature of Li Wei's spiritual qi seemed to have shifted. A subtle emotion flickered in her eyes as she called out, "There are too many. We can't kill them all. Follow me." Li Wei unleashed 4 consecutive palm strikes, each felling a Ku Ru bird. The air was thick with human heads and avian shadows, leaving no space to maneuver. With no other choice, he led his 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors after Wu Hongling, descending toward the lava river below. Whoosh! Whoosh! Countless Kuru birds pursued them relentlessly, their dark mass resembling a storm cloud, leaving countless claw marks on the stone cliffs. On a cliff face just a few dozen feet above the magma river, stood the massive stone gates of a palace. The gates towered over 30 feet high and were nearly 3 feet thick, their sheer size awe-inspiring. The cliff face was adorned with stone pillars, flying eaves, railings, and gate platforms, all entwined with dragon-shaped stone beasts. Wu Hongling landed on the stone platform before the gates, her red silk ribbon whipping past Li Wei to strike at the pursuing Kuru birds. Hurry! I've investigated this palace. The gates are made of a special material that even spiritual artifacts can't penetrate. They'll hold them back. Li Wei was surprised. He had assumed she would use red ribbon to fling him into the swarm of Kuru birds. Boom! Before entering, Li Wei unleashed the purple heaven thunder seal, unleashing a torrent of thunder and lightning that repelled the Kuru birds. Then, he and Wu Hongling each grabbed a gate and pushed with all their power. Throughout this struggle, Li Wei kept a close eye on Wu Hongling, wary of her possible schemes. Boom! The heavy stone gates finally slammed shut. Silence descended instantly, the birds, cries and roars vanishing completely. Li Wei immediately surveyed their surroundings. This palace looks extraordinary, built from some kind of unusual stone. Do you think there might be any dangers here? Wu Hongling said, don't worry, if I wanted to scheme against you, I would have acted already. Besides, I couldn't have predicted the Kuru bird's appearance, so there's no way I could have set a trap here in advance. Do you even understand what it means to share adversity or trust someone? All this suspicion must be exhausting. Even I, a woman, haven't been this wary of you. Li Wei traced formation glyphs on the stone door. The treasure inside must have already been taken by you. There's no treasure here. I've searched 3 or 4 times already. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought you here. I should have just let you die in the Kuru bird's beak. As she spoke, she casually removed the pale gray skull mask from her face. In combat, I'm no match for you. But when it comes to finding treasure, I'm confident. You. Li Wei stared in disbelief. He hadn't realized she was wearing a mask, deliberately disguising herself as ugly. What did removing the mask mean? A seduction attempt. With her cultivation level, that seemed unlikely. Wu Hongling's slender willow leaf eyebrows framed skin that radiated an eerie jade-like glow, like warm jade emitting smoke. Her lips were soft, glossy, and crimson, their subtle fragrance piercing his soul spirit, leaving him breathless and weak-kneed. The stark contrast to her previous ugliness was stunning. Any man would be captivated by this sudden, otherworldly transformation. Her face was a study in contrasts, her eyes and crimson lips radiated a bone-deep allure, yet her skin was as pure and ethereal as an immortal's, her features sculpted with delicate, refined lines. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 5. Seeking Immortality in the Eastern Sea. Volume 5 Pinyin Donghai Xuan Xian. Chapter 45 482 Mutual Temptation. 45th of Volume 5. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Boom. The Kuru bird flock relentlessly battered the stone doors, their strikes resembling the powerful fist and palm techniques of martial mystic path experts. The stone hall trembled, and dust and sand cascaded from the doors. The massive stone doors were as sturdy as the densest metals. Li Wei and Wu Hongling genuinely cooperated this time, bracing themselves against the doors with all their might, neither daring to harbor ulterior motives. For a full hour, the pair held the doors against the onslaught before the crashing gradually subsided. Simultaneously, Li Wei's defensive formation fully materialized, transforming into 3 formation plates inscribed with hundreds of formation scriptures, locking onto the stone doors. The immediate external threat was temporarily neutralized. Kuru birds are formidable malevolent demons, dwelling in flocks south of the rainforest habitat, Wu Hongling explained, her expression grave. Legend claims they possess a trace of golden crow blood. The ones here are 2 to 3 times stronger, their combat prowess rivaling 7th Heaven Martial Mystic Cultivators, and their defenses comparable to 9th Heaven Martial Mystic Cultivators. A few pose no threat, but dozens or hundreds are a different matter entirely. We must not venture out yet. If we fall into the flock, even our combined strength would be insufficient to escape death. Wu Hongling's slender jade fingers slid from the stone doors, her red silk ribbon swirling around her. Strands of crimson avian spiritual chi danced around her, accentuating her dazzlingly pale skin. The passage behind the stone gate stretched for half a kilometer, spanning 20 meters in width and 50 meters in height, a vast and imposing space. The stone walls were meticulously stacked, their interiors emitting a faint glow, while the magma river outside radiated a gentle warmth. Having only glimpsed her briefly before, Li Wei now had the leisure to admire her breathtaking beauty up close. Her delicate nose curved gracefully, and her crimson lips seemed to exude a natural, intoxicating fragrance. In this unique environment, her full-figured silhouette, with its voluptuous breasts and hips, possessed a vulnerable allure that both tempted and warned against approach. I'm starting to believe there are no traps in this stone hall, Li Wei said, his gaze unwavering, because the greatest trap is right in front of me. Perhaps you should put your mask back on. Beautiful things are always pleasing to the eye, but they often come with immense danger. Afraid of falling in love with me. Wu Hongling's eyes shimmered with a misty, watery light as her seductive lips parted. We don't necessarily have to fight to the death. Perhaps after a few years of being alone together here, our bond will become inseparable. Amidst the monotony, we could savor the pleasures of marital bliss. Indeed, it's quite intriguing, Li Wei remarked, his mind clear as the wisdom-clarity divine state. He sensed Wu Hongling constantly searching for weaknesses in his defenses. After taking 2 steps back, he asked curiously, Miss Hongling, are you truly wearing nothing but a single red silk? Her attire was peculiar, layers of crimson silk draped over her body, leaving large expanses of fragrant, alluring skin exposed. Her sensual neck and the hollow beneath her collarbones revealed rounded curves and delicate contours. Below, her legs possessed a visible elasticity and tautness, smooth and lustrous like polished jade. What defied comprehension was that such revealing attire didn't appear vulgar. This was because her face was utterly perfect and ethereal. Every strand of her cascading hair seemed meticulously arranged. Wu Hongling playfully twirled her right index finger, and one end of the red silk floated toward him. Do you want to unveil it and see? Li Wei raised his hand. You truly dare to think such things. Wu Hongling scoffed, the red silk snapping back to her. She then asked, did you truly cultivate something from that imprint? Li Wei's mind cleared. He realized she couldn't comprehend the profound mysteries of the Buddhist Tao imprint. Seizing this opportunity, he decided to dig a trap for her. He raised his right hand, palm open. Whoosh! Golden spiritual power erupted from the acupoint in his palm, coalescing into a Buddhist Tao imprint that slowly rotated. Strands of radiant light, like golden filaments, swirled around it. This imprint is profound and of extraordinary origin, Li Wei said earnestly, mixing truth with fabrication. As it rotates, it generates a variant spiritual power. When this variant spiritual power flows through the body, it strengthens the meridian veins and refines spiritual qi. I believe that with prolonged cultivation using this method, one's innate talent will undoubtedly reach new heights. Wu Hongling's clear black and white eyes remained fixed on the Buddhist Tao imprint in Li Wei's palm. She held her breath, her heart beating slightly faster. She completely believed Li Wei's words. If even ancient immortals had studied this phenomenon, its mysteries must extend far beyond what he had revealed. Li Wei continued, this special spiritual power and the mysterious imprint seemed to suppress malevolent demons. The Kuru bird you mentioned was indeed powerful, but once the imprint touched it, it couldn't shake it off and was quickly reduced to ashes. Would you like to comprehend it? With your innate talent and this aid, you could undoubtedly reach new heights. Even contending for the true disciples wouldn't be beyond your reach. Wu Hongling's heart raced with anticipation. What's the condition? At that moment, Li Wei was certain she couldn't decipher anything from the stone wall. He dispelled the imprint on his palm. You really dare to think that? I'd transmit it to you, let you ascend to a higher level, and then you'd kill me. Don't even think about seizing it, it'll shatter at the slightest touch. You dare mock me. Wu Hongling's chest heaved as she struggled to suppress her murderous intent, secretly plotting how to force him into submission. Killing him might cost her the chance to ascend to the great Tao. Such an opportunity was rare and invaluable. How could a mere upper-tier chief disciple have comprehended it? Heaven's injustice knew no bounds, failing to distinguish between dragons and snakes. Was this the cosmos's way of empowering a mortal to defy fate? Li Wei retreated further, positioning the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors as a barrier. Then, he spread his hands, deliberately projecting the Buddhist Tao imprint from his divine pivot above his head. The imprint, 10 feet in diameter, radiated golden light, its profound mysteries boundless. The Buddhist Tao imprint and Tai Chi diagram had briefly manifested when the 12-character Tao seed coalesced within his divine pivot. But since then, they had remained invisible and intangible, impossible to grasp. After comprehending the Buddhist Tao imprint on the stone wall, the imprint within his divine pivot had resurfaced. Seeing Li Wei cultivating with the mysterious Buddhist Tao imprint hovering above his head like a holy spirit on a stone wall, Wu Hongling could no longer maintain her composure. Looking at the man before her, she no longer felt superior. She realized that with this imprint, he could surpass her in the future. Damn it! Why did I lead him to the stone wall? As a top-tier heaven's chosen daughter, Wu Hongling quickly suppressed her turbulent thoughts, recognizing that he was deliberately provoking her. Just as she had removed her mask to exploit her strengths against his desires. Li Wei glanced at Wu Hongling in the distance, observing her sitting calmly in meditation on the stone steps, her posture resembling a bodhisattva contemplating the heart. He inwardly admired her composure. Since she wasn't taking the bait, Li Wei saw no point in wasting time. He prepared to venture deeper into the stone hall to find a secluded spot to absorb the blazing ember divine flame from Huoxin's body. Miss, I'll leave the gate to you. Lumo will explore the depths of the stone hall. We must prevent the Kuru birds from breaching the defenses, or we'll be trapped in our own web, unable to escape. Wu Hongling suddenly said, I understand. What do you understand now, miss? Li Wei paused to ask. Wu Hongling lifted her gaze, her long, curled eyelashes framing her eyes. I understand why you killed Huoxin. You wanted to seize the blazing ember divine flame within him to cultivate the sixfold samsara burning karma technique, a great technique. Li Wei's expression tightened slightly. Seeing the change in Li Wei's expression, Wu Hongling knew she had guessed correctly. She smiled with satisfaction. I've studied several great techniques of the Lingxiao twin rice sect, and the sixfold samsara burning karma technique fascinates me most, since I also cultivate great flame techniques. I heard from the rice sect's martial mystic cultivators that their traitorous divine son was a master of this technique. Li Wei replied, you unravel the truth like peeling silk from a cocoon. Fairy, you're as clever as ice and snow, but you could have pretended not to know. Because I feared Huoxin's corpse might kill you, Wu Hongling said. Li Wei's expression turned serious. What do you mean? Wu Hongling continued, the Rice Palace's top-tier geniuses, when venturing into the Netherworld or other dangerous realms for training, always find ways to acquire life-saving measures. For example, body protection talismans, escape talismans, or formations crafted by holy spiritual master. Those with powerful backers receive even more formidable blessings from their sect elders. Huoxin wasn't just any top-tier genius, his corpse carries immense danger. If you trust me, I can help you dispel this hidden threat. I don't trust you. Li Wei's tone shifted, however, I'm always soft-hearted when it comes to beautiful women. Regardless of your motives, I must repay your warning in kind. That imprint originates from the Buddhist sect. To comprehend it, you must cultivate compassion and kindness, just as I do. And as the Buddha did. You must never harbor murderous or malicious thoughts. Otherwise, you'll suffer the consequences. If I advise you to seek virtue, you'll likely think I'm trying to deceive you. In truth, this Buddhist Tao imprint, when rotated clockwise, represents boundless merit. When rotated counterclockwise, it symbolizes the cycle of life and death. The line between Buddha and demon is as thin as a thought. Try observing it in reverse, it might suit you better. Li Wei departed with a smile, setting up formations at intervals along the corridor to prevent her from approaching unnoticed. The stone hall was magnificent, stretching several miles deep. Across countless ages, all its original furnishings had decayed into dust, leaving nothing behind. Li Wei walked through the main hall, its vaulted ceiling soaring 30 meters high. The silence was so profound that only his footsteps and breathing echoed through the vast space. Directly ahead stood a massive stone dais, 8 meters tall, clearly not built for humans but rather the divine throne of some colossal being. Whoosh! The heavenly eye opened between his brows. He also dispatched Feng, refusing to believe that such an extraordinary place could truly contain no treasures. 15 minutes later, Li Wei discovered the entrance to a hidden chamber within the stone wall behind the dais. The chamber was deeply concealed, its walls 3 meters thick, so well hidden that even the heavenly eye had missed it during the initial scan. The square chamber measured 10 meters on each side and was completely empty. This is it. No trace of Wu Hongling's presence here. The chamber is perfectly hidden. Li Wei was desperate to perfect the third layer of the sixfold samsara burning karma technique, hoping to use its momentum to condense the wind mansion Dao fruit. His wind mansion had already reached the peak of the sixth heaven, requiring only the final breakthrough. To kill Huoxin, he had exhausted all his resources, including the formations and earth sword talismans he had previously refined. With his current cultivation as an 8-star spiritual master and his martial mystic path cultivation at the 6th heaven, he stood no chance against a powerhouse like Wu Hongling. Only by condensing the Dao fruit could he turn the tide. Li Wei unleashed his psychic power, activating the Dao Ancestors Tai Chi fish to attempt entry into the blood mud space. Boom! The Dao Ancestors Tai Chi fish rotated, sending spatial ripples spreading outward in concentric circles. Immediately, an unknown force from the heavens and earth clashed against it. The surrounding space, including the stone walls of the secret chamber, trembled violently. Crack! Crack! Cracks spider-webbed across the chamber's stone walls, and chunks of rock began to crumble and fall. Li Wei immediately ceased his activation, fearing being buried alive and, more importantly, alerting the terrifying creatures lurking in this place. The Kuru bird flocks and the dragon's roar were undeniable signs of other living beings, making this place extremely dangerous. The violent commotion had already drawn Wu Hongling's attention. Outside, she systematically dismantled the formation Li Wei had set up. Listening intently, he could hear her entering the main hall and searching the area. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 5, Seeking Immortality in the Eastern Sea. Volume 5 Pinyin Donghai Xuan Xian. Chapter 46 483 The Wind Mansion Dao Fruit and the Immortal Seeking Pearl. 46th of Volume 5. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. After searching for a long time, she called out, Li Wei, what are you hiding for? Did you find an ancient treasure vault and want to keep it all for yourself? Wu Hongling then summoned her spiritual artifact battle sword and began slashing and stabbing through the stone hall. Only after a long while, when she was completely unable to find Li Wei, did she leave in a fit of anger. Li Wei's eyes remained calm. After confirming there were no sounds outside, he retrieved Huoxin's headless corpse. Cautiously, he activated his heavenly eye to observe the corpse's ancestral field. Within the ancestral field, divine flames burned like a scarlet furnace. The Dao fruit floated at the center, dazzling as a blazing sun. At the bottom of the ancestral field lay an incredibly dense mass of spiritual qi, more than 10 times stronger than Huoxin's own fiery spiritual qi. Nearly 1,000 transcendent scriptures drifted within this qi. Li Wei gasped. Huoxin's body contained such a formidable transcendent power. If unleashed, even ordinary great powers of the immortal realm might suffer a crushing defeat. Fortunately, this transcendent power is difficult to mobilize, and Huoxin never anticipated my sudden counterattack, Li Wei thought, secretly relieved. Of course, this transcendent power was certainly weaker than the power contained within the 1,000 inscriptions artifact cloak. Storing a single strike's power within an artifact consumes an immense amount of one's cultivation energy. Take Snow Sword Tang Court as an example. For Tang Shituo, only Tang Wanzhou would likely be worth such a sacrifice. Tang Wanzhou might not qualify for such protection, not because she was unimportant, but because alternative methods existed. Having foreseen this, Li Wei proceeded with utmost caution. After numerous trials, he finally devised a method. Using the evil camel bell, he first struck the Huoxin's ancestral field, suppressing the transcendent power. Then, strand by strand, he extracted the blazing ember divine flame stored within the Dao Palace. Over the next several hours, Li Wei completely absorbed the blazing ember divine flame. The entire secret chamber transformed into a sea of fire. Within the fiery inferno, golden crows, 7-clawed flame heavenly dragons, qilins, luan birds, the fusong divine tree, starlight, and other celestial phenomena materialized. The third layer of sixfold samsara burning karma technique gradually progressed from minor to major completion. By the end, even the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors struggled to withstand the overwhelming fiery power, curling into tight balls and retreating to the corners. During this time, Wu Hongling returned 3 times. On her third return, she muttered to herself, could he have died under some strange power? After that, she never came to the main hall again. A day later. Gather. Li Wei gathered all the transformed flames, strand by strand, like a tidal wave surging toward the wind mansion and converging on the 9-petaled Dao lotus. Boom. The golden crow-shaped flames crashed into the lotus, instantly imprinting its petals with scriptures bearing the crow's characteristics, feathers, talons, and soaring birds. Flames of other forms followed suit, each leaving its imprint. The 9-petaled Dao lotus gradually transformed. Countless scriptures flickered, its petals unfurling to their fullest extent, radiating an explosive burst of light. After reaching its zenith, the lotus began to wither. Petals fell one by one, dissolving into flames and scriptures. New petals then sprouted from the lotus, maintaining its 9-petaled form in an endless cycle. All 9 petals fell and regrew 9 times, as if enduring 81 trials. Whoosh. The final 9 petals detached, transforming into 9 strands of rosy mist that permeated the wind mansion. This time, the fiery mist contained no scriptures. All the scriptures had converged onto the bare lotus platform, which condensed into a fruit the size of a green bean. The formation of the Dao fruit required vast amounts of heaven, earth, and la qi. Unable to enter the blood-mud space and unwilling to absorb external spiritual qi for fear of attracting Wu Hongling at this critical moment, Li Wei faced a dilemma. Controlling his efforts, Li Wei directed the Dao fruit to absorb only the Immortal Realm Golden Pill within his wind mansion. The Immortal Realm Golden Pill, originally given to him by Yao Qingshan, had remained stored in his wind mansion all this time. Simultaneously, Li Wei consumed the phoenix blood tree bark and 4-colored immortal moss he had prepared beforehand, and absorbed golden essence bone marrow. By leveraging the comprehensive bodily enhancement from his breakthrough, he maximized the refinement of his physical body. Sizzle. The psychic radiance between his brows erupted, activating the Dao ancestor's Tai Chi fish's time power to weave a time cocoon around his entire body. He needed to swiftly consolidate his realm to prevent any unforeseen complications. The time power isn't suppressed. So it wasn't the Dao ancestors' Tai Chi fish after all. My psychic power cultivation is simply insufficient to contend with the heaven, earth, and law here. 6 days later, within the cocoon. The Dao fruit in Li Wei's wind mansion had stabilized, completely absorbing the immortal realm golden pill. It had grown 2 to 3 times larger, its surface shimmering with densely packed, floating scriptures. 7 clawed flame heavenly dragons circled it, each radiating vitality and seemingly possessing the power to move mountains. The quality of the spiritual chi within his wind mansion had surged dramatically. The immortal realm golden pill could not be fully utilized, only sustaining Li Wei's cultivation up to the 7th heaven. To rapidly advance to the 8th and 9th heavens with the wind mansion's dragon seed Dao fruit, he needed either to find another compatible immortal realm golden pill or to absorb the 6-clawed immortal dragon chi, seizing the Dao of the ancient immortal giant dragon, a path that would lead to far swifter progress. His injuries had fully healed. Li Wei withdrew all flames and spiritual chi back into his body. The dark chamber returned to its dim state. Having broken through his cultivation realm, Li Wei had no intention of remaining in seclusion here. Firstly, the area was dangerous, requiring immediate departure. Secondly, the opportunity to excavate the ancient immortal dragon remains was too significant to miss. He needed to find an exit and return to the surface without delay. Those 7. Emerging from the time cocoon, Li Wei found the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors absent from the chamber. However, he noticed a faint blue radiance emanating from a heavily cracked stone wall. The chi of the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors drifted from the fissures. Li Wei communicated with them telepathically. Second phoenix flew back, its head poking through a crack. It reported telepathically, "Major discovery. I found it first, and the others followed me." Li Wei drew the yellow dragon sword and began excavating along the fissures. The stone wall proved incredibly tough, requiring immense effort to carve out a tunnel several meters long. Beyond the tunnel lay an underground grotto. At its center was a celestial well, a shaft dug deep into the earth. Li Wei stood beside the well, extending his psychic power down the tunnel. He couldn't reach the bottom, it was far deeper than 10,000 zhong, leaving him astonished. Beside the well sat a human skeleton in a meditative posture. Its bones were light cast gold, clad in a wide, azure Confucian robe. White hair was bound atop its head, secured by a jade hairpin. How long the skeleton had sat there was unknown, yet it still radiated an extraordinary aura, like the eternal great Tao itself. No dust could settle on it. Li Wei extended 2 fingers, touching the skeletal hand before quickly withdrawing them. Flesh, 5 Cs, all decayed to nothing. Only the bones remain eternal. He truly cultivated immortal golden bones, a transcendent relic. He then probed the skeleton's brow and moved downward. His eyes narrowed sharply as he noticed the golden bone of the skeleton's chest was shattered, and countless cracks riddled its spine. The special Confucian robe was torn to shreds at the chest. This must be what killed him here. A thought struck him, and Li Wei immediately looked at the celestial well. Did he encounter something terrifying at the bottom of the well, suffer grievous injuries, and then flee upward? Was this celestial well tunnel the path he dug in his escape? Beside the skeletal remains, Li Wei discovered ancient characters etched into the stone wall, now faded and barely legible. I, Pu Yanzi, servant of the Zhongsheng Academy's Sea of Learning. At 3, I learned to read. At 4, I began martial mystic training. At 9, I passed the imperial examinations and achieved breakthrough Dao Seed. By 20, I vowed to banish the darkness of the dead spirits and restore the world to an age of light and prosperity. At 60, I finally realized my youthful arrogance. The Yingzhou Nether Realm cannot be reclaimed by a single man's efforts. At 300, I traveled the world, witnessing the perils of the Nether Realm firsthand. I felt my own insignificance more keenly than ever. The light of a firefly could never illuminate the hellish depths of the mortal realm. After scouring countless scriptures, I found only one path forward, to seek the immortal Dao Dragon Vein and use its power to shatter the darkness. Thus, I forged the immortal seeking pearl and journeyed across the great wilderness, through hidden realms and deep lakes. For 5,000 years, I endured solitude and relentless pursuit, finally discovering traces of the Dragon Meridian in the East Sea. I lament that my life ends here, that I cannot fulfill my grand ambition. After reading this, Li Wei felt both awe and reverence. He revered Pu Yanzi's extraordinary talent, his youthful ambition, and his unwavering dedication to the world. Despite setbacks and moments of doubt, Pu Yanzi had devoted his entire life to banishing the nether realm of the dead, striving tirelessly until his final breath. It was thanks to such great sages that the world endured, even when plagued by countless villains and demons. What astonished Li Wei was that Pu Yanzi had actually found the immortal Dao Dragon Vein. The immortal Dao Dragon Vein represented the glorious era of the past, when immortals coexisted with mortals, all things flourished, and Taoist methods reached profound depths. It was a time when not only essence herbs and emperor herbs could be cultivated, but even immortal herbs could be born. Immortal soil was simply the soil near the immortal Dao Dragon vein. Li Huai bowed deeply to Pu Yanzi's remains, the resentment he had harbored toward Zhongsheng Academy due to Fu Wenyan vanishing like smoke. Sometimes, a single person's charisma could completely alter public perception of a life realm. Conversely, one person's wickedness could tarnish the reputation of an entire life realm. An immortal seeking pearl. Li Huai noticed 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors vying for a luminous azure pearl. Scattered on the ground were 4 pages of paper covered in writing. Picking them up, he realized they were 4 pages from the Earth Tome. It was obvious they had been left behind by Pu Yanzi. Acknowledging he was no saint, Li Huai quickly pocketed the Earth Tome, intending to study it later. He bowed again to the skeletal remains. Having received this opportunity, Senior, if the chance arises, I will ensure your remains are returned to your homeland for proper burial. He wouldn't make such a promise for just anyone's fortune. This vow stemmed entirely from his deep admiration for Pu Yanzi. What are you fighting over? Give it here. Let me study it first. Li Huai confiscated the luminous azure pearl. The moment he held it, an icy chill pierced through his skin, which was already 70% as strong as an immortal body, causing it to ache. Now he understood why the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors had been tossing the pearl around without daring to swallow it. Could this truly be the immortal seeking pearl? Big Phoenix's willpower surged. Second Phoenix has already swallowed one. This one should be mine, my abilities are the greatest. Li Huai swiftly grabbed Second Phoenix and held it in his hand. A white glow pulsed faintly from its abdomen. This pearl. It made me swallow it, Second Phoenix's willpower echoed, a faint consciousness remains within it. It calls itself the immortal seeking pearl, says it's destined for me, and can guide me to places rich in immortal soil and spiritual qi. If you swallowed the immortal seeking pearl, then what's this one? Li Huai asked, examining the bright blue pearl in his hand. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 5. Seeking Immortality in the Eastern Sea. Volume 5 Pinyin Donghai Xuan Xian. Chapter 47 484 The Wheel of Fortune Turns. 47th of Volume 5. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. All things possess a spirit. Myriad inscriptions artifacts of sufficiently high grade, after continuous nourishment, can develop consciousness and even spiritual intelligence. Just like millennial essence herbs. A myriad inscriptions artifact that has developed consciousness gains a significant boost in power, becoming known as a myriad laws spiritual artifact. However, the consciousness of an artifact, like the lifespan of living beings, is not eternal. Over the long river of time, it will inevitably dissipate due to various causes. Li Huai pointed a finger at Feng, channeling psychic power spiritual light into its body to investigate. The immortal seeking pearl's interior was densely inscribed with artifact scripts, resembling the earth veins, crisscrossing in intricate patterns. The number of scriptures was more than double that of the purple heaven thunder seal. This was not an offensive myriad laws spiritual artifact. It had been specially crafted by Pu Yanzi to locate immortal Dao Dragon veins. Beyond sensing immortal energy, its only other function was a limited degree of defensive power. The immortal seeking pearl resonated with Feng's innate abilities, which is why it had actively chosen him as its master. Li Huai then turned his attention to the other pigeon egg-sized pearl in his hand. Apart from being exceptionally cold, it exhibited no other remarkable properties. Attempts to activate it with spiritual qi proved futile, and psychic power could not penetrate its interior. Yet, even the transcendent physical body had decayed into a skeleton, and the inscriptions on the stone walls had faded beyond recognition. The fact that this pearl had endured suggested it was no ordinary object. Li Huai glared at the 6 phoenixes lined up beside him. Do you even know what this is? Swallowing it carelessly will cause problems. Leave it with me for now. Feng found this place first, so the immortal seeking pearl rightfully belongs to him. You all need to learn from this. Feng puffed out his chest, his expression radiating arrogance. Li Huai placed Pu Yanzi's skeletal remains into his boundary pouch, then glanced at the bottomless skylight. Perhaps the immortal Dao Dragon vein lies beneath this. But if even Pu Yanzi, with his formidable cultivation, had been fatally wounded here, how could Li Huai dare venture down to investigate? Moreover, whether the immortal Dao Dragon vein truly existed remained uncertain. After all, if such a thing were to emerge, it would shake Yingzhou to its core, alerting the martial mystic Dao heavenly emperors and stirring the forbidden ones in the netherworld. For the creatures near the East Sea, its arrival could bring either fortune or disaster. Li Huai quickly retreated. He opened the secret chamber's exit and cautiously stepped out. 2 or 3 days had passed, and there was no trace of Wu Hongling's presence in the stone hall. The hall's massive stone doors stood wide open. There were no signs of battle, suggesting she hadn't forced her way out but had left voluntarily, likely believing it was safe to do so. Concealing his aura, Li Wei approached the stone doors. Below the gate, waves of heat surged from the wide river of magma. Confirming that Wu Hongling wasn't hiding nearby, Li Wei suppressed his spiritual qi and psychic power, making no sound as he climbed the cliff face with his bare hands. Wu Hongling sat cross-legged atop the cliff beside the magma river, facing the opposite bank where the twin-headed sacred spirit of dawn and dusk and the Buddhist Tao imprint were carved. In her hand, she held a white sheet of paper, a rubbing of the Buddhist Tao imprint from the stone wall. It rotated in reverse. Over the past 2 days, she had repeatedly observed the forward-rotating Buddhist Tao imprint on the stone wall. Despite her utmost sincerity, tranquility, and compassion, she could only endure it for a fleeting moment. Her consciousness and soul spirit were unable to withstand the rotating force. That was why she had made the rubbing. Forcing resistance only brings harm. Forward rotation yields boundless merit. Reverse rotation traps you in the cycle of life and death. He wasn't entirely lying to me. Observing this reverse rotating rubbing not only avoids that discomfort, but also noticeably accelerates the flow of spiritual qi within my body. 100 zhang away, Li Wei quietly reached the cliff's edge. He glanced briefly at Wu Hongling before immediately averting his gaze. A powerhouse like Wu Hongling would undoubtedly sense being watched. Her vigilance was absolute. She had deployed 10 Grey Bone Spirit commanders to patrol and guard the area, making it nearly impossible to approach undetected and deliver a fatal blow. If he failed to kill her before she could react, he would face 2 critical challenges. First, Wu Hongling undoubtedly possessed life-saving measures, possibly even more potent than Huoxin's transcendent spiritual qi. Second, any prolonged engagement would inevitably attract swarms of Kuru birds and trigger an unknown dragon's roar. After a moment of deep contemplation, Li Wei made his decisive move. He first placed the purple heaven thunder seal into his wind mansion, subtly channeling spiritual qi to activate it. Then, he retrieved the 2-meter-long 1,000-inscription spiritual bow belonging to the Demon Kingdom's immortal realm giant, the Divine Wing Marquis. Drawing back the string, he focused spiritual qi into it, condensing it into a 7-clawed heavenly dragon flame arrow. Almost instantly, Wu Hongling's eyes snapped open, sensing the imminent danger. She immediately unleashed her spiritual qi and activated the red silk draped across her body. Thwack! The arrow shot forth. The string's resonant energy exploded outward in a shockwave. The 7-clawed heavenly dragon flame arrow hurtled toward Wu Hongling, closing the distance to within 3 meters of her head. It tore through her protective spiritual qi layer by layer. Flames ignited the air around the arrowhead. The incoming red silk veils proved no match for the arrow's force, crumpling and flying back toward Wu Hongling. The attack was sudden, and the arrow flew with the speed of a shuttle. Wu Hongling didn't even have time to stand up. She immediately fell backward, tumbling into the parched riverbed in a most undignified manner. Crack! The arrowhead grazed her forehead. Her gray-green skull mask shattered, shielding her from certain death. Swish! Swish! 10 bone spirit commanders, moving with lightning speed, charged at Li Wei from all directions, attempting to slow him down and buy Wu Hongling time. Li Wei executed his movement technique, transforming into a phantom of azure mist. He evaded the bone spirits, appearing several dozen feet above the ground, and hurled Huoxin's headless corpse into the dry riverbed. Then, he unleashed a palm strike from afar. Wu Hongling had just stopped tumbling when she saw Huoxin's headless corpse appear above her, her face instantly draining of color. She immediately understood Li Wei's intent. There was no time to cast an evasion Dao technique. Remaining calm in the face of imminent danger, she executed a countermeasure that exceeded Li Wei's expectations. Boom! She slammed her palm against the ground, using the recoil to propel herself skyward. A mirror-shaped spiritual artifact flew from her ancestral field, caught by her other slender, jade-like hand. Rumble! The transcendent spiritual qi and scriptures within Huoxin's ancestral field erupted. The corpse shattered into a horrifying cloud of blood, mist and dust. Wu Hongling braced herself behind an ancient mirror, its diameter spanning 3 meters. The force of the blast sent her flying hundreds of meters away. Her arms, strained to the point of breaking, trembled violently as she coughed up a mouthful of blood. Fortunately, she had leapt clear of the ground just in time, allowing her to use the air to cushion her fall and dissipate the impact. Had she been grounded, even with the mirror and her red silk protective spiritual qi, her chances of survival would have been slim. Simultaneously, the transcendent spiritual qi within Huoxin's body erupted in all directions, lacking any focus on a specific target or enemy. This indiscriminate release significantly diminished its destructive power compared to a focused attack. Boom! A deafening thunderclap echoed from above. Giving Wu Hongling no respite, a purple heaven thunder seal the size of a millstone crashed down upon her. Wu Hongling pinched a talisman between 2 fingers. The talisman shattered, transforming into a crimson cloud of light that enveloped her entirely. Countless talismanic runes swirled within the luminous barrier, deflecting the lightning and the thunder seal. This talisman, forged by a holy spiritual master, had cost her a fortune to acquire. She would never have used it unless absolutely necessary. Wu Hongling had never imagined that a man who had seen her true face would attack her so ruthlessly, without even attempting to capture her alive. Li Weiyi's 3 consecutive strikes had all been aimed at killing her outright. Any other martial mystic cultivator would have died 3 times over by now. Li Weiyi, it's my turn now. Wu Hongling's eyes flashed with icy resolve. Stabilizing her position with the aid of talisman light, she unleashed her crimson avian spiritual qi. Her long hair billowed as the red silk surged upward like a crimson river flowing against the current. Above her, Li Weiyi's cold face loomed, the yellow dragon sword in his hand. He slashed downward with the force of a sword splitting the sea. The red silk spiritual artifact buckled under the strike, the sword's edge hurtling toward Wu Hongling's head. Wu Hongling had initially believed she had merely been caught off guard. Even injured, she was confident her raw power still surpassed her opponent's. But the instant Li Weiyi's sword shattered her red silk, she realized her grave miscalculation. Li Weiyi's combat prowess had transformed beyond recognition in just 3 days. Wu Hongling executed the primordial chaos palm, unleashing a palm strike that sent a cloud of primordial chaos qi surging forth. The air boiled as a massive bubble of energy erupted upward. She had mastered this great technique far more profoundly than Huoxin, reaching the 4th layer entry level and cultivating several strands of primordial chaos qi. Boom! The yellow dragon sword shattered the primordial chaos palm, sending Wu Hongling flying backward dozens of meters. Her long, snow-white jade legs carved a deep trench into the earth as she skidded across the ground. A deep, bloody gash appeared on her palm. Before she could regain her footing, a powerful force yanked her forward, sending her flying uncontrollably toward Li Weiyi. It was the red silk wrapped around her body, now seized by Li Weiyi. The red silk, normally as sharp as a blade, now acted like a rope, tethering her like a kite. Wu Hongling tried to regain control of the silk, but her efforts failed. She decisively abandoned it, her lithe body darting backward like a silverfish in a wave, creating a vast distance between herself and Li Weiyi. Li Weiyi clutched the weightless, gossamer red silk in his hand, inhaling its faint, alluring fragrance. He glared at Wu Hongling in the distance, his brow furrowed. His hope of striking her down with lightning speed had been dashed. The truth was revealed. Beneath the red silk lay a moon-white inner robe, clinging to her chest and hips, radiating a soft, ethereal glow, embroidered with orchids. It resembled a nightgown, both sensual and adorable. Wu Hongling quickly donned a green Taoist robe, concealing her jade-like arms and long legs. She fastened the sash, her demonic aura vanishing, transforming her into a sacred, inviolable Taoist saintess. You should have dressed properly sooner. You look even more beautiful and captivating this way. Li Weiyi gathered the red silk into a ball, holding it like an embroidered ball in one hand. In his other hand, he wielded his sword, the purple heaven thunder seal hovering above his head, his body enveloped in crackling lightning as he advanced. Wu Hongling held a mirror-shaped spiritual artifact aloft. From her ancestral field, 6 spiritual artifact battle swords flew forth, 2 of which were the 100 scriptures artifact Dao swords from the Calamity Crossing Temple. Her gaze turned resolute. North Young Lord, South Divine Hidden One, your current strength finally makes me believe that saying. Once we're out of here, I'll investigate you thoroughly. I just broke through to the 9th heaven, and you're already struggling to hold your ground. If I reach the peak of the 9th heaven, how will you possibly contend with me? Even if you want to leave, do you think you can? Li Weiyi couldn't be certain whether Wu Hongling possessed any Huoxin-style attack methods. Without a swift kill, caution was paramount. You only caught me off guard with a sneak attack, Wu Hongling retorted. In a fair fight, the outcome would be uncertain. Even true disciples and immortal realm giants couldn't kill me, what chance do you have? Despite her words, she felt utterly uncertain. Her opponent not only excelled in the martial mystic path but also possessed extraordinary mastery of psychic power. Wah ga. The dense cries of Kuru birds surged toward their location like a rushing black cloud. Severely wounded, Wu Hongling had no desire to fight. This place is strange, she said, we could have cooperated and faced the external dangers together. It's all your fault, you reckless fool. You broke through your cultivation realm and immediately tried to kill me. When my cultivation was stronger than yours, did I ever consider killing you? Never considered it. Li Weiyi retorted. The Kuru bird flock drew closer. Wu Hongling's tone softened. I hunted you down, and you severely injured me. We're even now. Let's put aside our grudges. If we wait any longer, we won't escape. You can't kill me. From the spirit realm at her brow center, a wisp of multicolored light emanated, carrying the aura of transcendent power. Li Weiyi sighed inwardly. Wu Hongling indeed had a trump card for survival. Like him, she would only use such a technique when absolutely necessary to preserve her life. Otherwise, if she were ever targeted by an immortal realm giant, she would surely perish. As the Kuru bird flock loomed overhead, Li Wei turned and fled, activating the clear void cicada chase step. He transformed into azure mist, accompanied by the chirping of cicadas, and cicada wings sprouted from his back as he surged toward the lava river. He tried to activate the colossal skeleton within the riverbed, but failed. Clearly, Wu Hongling had already destroyed the puppet technique scriptures inscribed on the skeleton. Wu Hongling trailed closely behind Li Wei, simultaneously fending off attacks from the Kuru birds behind her and bracing for a sudden strike from Li Wei ahead. Her mood was utterly foul, she had never suffered such a crushing defeat in a clash with the younger generation. The earlier battle had not only alarmed the Kuru birds but also awakened an even more terrifying creature. Ow! A dragon's roar erupted from the depths of the earth, shaking the ground violently. Li Wei, wounded by the sonic blast, dropped to one knee, using his sword to support himself as blood streamed from his ears. Ah! Behind him, Wu Hongling, already severely injured and with a physical body far weaker than Li Wei's, collapsed under the intensified strain of the dragon's roar, unable to rise again, writhing in agony. The dragon's roar tore through the cavern's ceiling, sending rubble crashing down in an unending cascade. Gradually, a fissure tens of miles long split open across the ceiling, its location now 20 miles away, above the dark, mountainous terrain. Li Wei's heart leapt with joy. The dragon's roar had torn open the fissure, and the seawater hadn't yet begun to pour through. He immediately recalled the 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors, who were still locked in combat with the bone spirit commander, into his insect pouch. A pair of fiery wings materialized on his back as he soared toward the fissure hundreds of feet above. Fearing Wu Hongling might resort to desperate measures in her dire situation, and unwilling to miss this chance to escape, Li Wei refrained from seizing the opportunity to strike her down. The Kuru birds, stunned by the dragon's roar, plummeted to the ground, leaving the airspace clear. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 5, Seeking Immortality in the Eastern Sea. Volume 5 Pinyin Donghai Xuan Xian. Chapter 48 485 Eldest Sister-in-Law, the Purple-Robed Woman. 48th of Volume 5. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Li Wei flew to the edge of the fissure and gazed upward into the endless darkness, as loose stones continuously rolled down. The sound of wind being cut through reached his ears, and he realized Wu Hongling had caught up. A pair of magnificent, colorful feathered wings, each 10 feet long, sprouted from her back. These weren't formed from spiritual light or spiritual qi, but had grown naturally from her body, granting her incredible speed. Without engaging in combat, the two seized the moment and soared upward. Boom! Seawater cascaded down with tremendous force. Li Wei immediately summoned his peachwood staff. Roots erupted from the staff-like tendrils, anchoring themselves into the cliff walls of the fissure. He struggled to climb upward against the relentless torrent, his movements both urgent and arduous. The rock layers here were exceptionally hard. If they failed to escape before the fissure closed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Wu Hongling enveloped herself in her colorful feathered wings and activated the water escape technique. She merged seamlessly with the cascading seawater, becoming one with the current as she surged upward with astonishing speed. Her mastery of Dao techniques is truly extraordinary, Li Wei marveled. Having cultivated for far too short a time, Li Wei couldn't hope to match their decades of training. Resigned to his limitations, he focused on steadily climbing upward with the aid of his peachwood staff. Soon, Li Wei, clinging to the cliff face amidst the raging currents, spotted Wu Hongling hanging above him, sword in hand. She was no longer as swift as when she had cast her Dao techniques earlier. Her ascent was labored, her face deathly pale. She had to channel all her spiritual qi to form a protective barrier around her body, deflecting the relentless torrents crashing down from above, just to maintain her grip and climb upward. But focusing all her spiritual qi only exacerbated her internal injuries. Seeing Li Wei closing in, Wu Hongling's heart sank. She immediately activated the transcendent power within her brow. If he tried to take advantage of her weakened state, she would drag them both to their doom. Li Wei, wanting to avoid complications, quickly climbed past her. Wu Hongling followed closely behind, immediately finding her ascent much easier. You being like this makes me feel very insecure, Li Wei said. Attacking you now would gain me nothing, Wu Hongling replied. Li Wei, let's cooperate. Neither of us can escape alone. If we could have fought it together, we wouldn't have fallen down here in the first place. Cooperation is possible, Li Wei said, but only if I can plant the death spirit fire within you. Impossible. Wu Hongling exclaimed, if I go out, you'll ignite the death spirit fire, leaving me with no burial. Your only concern is my revenge. I swear on my honor, all grudges are forgiven, and I'll never reveal that you are Lu Fengshu. Li Wei didn't believe her for a moment. He slid down beside her and drew a Six Desires talisman in his palm. What's that? Wu Hongling asked. A rune, Li Wei replied, let me implant it, and we'll cooperate wholeheartedly. Wu Hongling grew wary. What kind of rune? The Six Desires Heart Demon was the ancient heavenly emperor of the Lingxiao realm. The Six Desires talisman wasn't widely known outside this region. Don't worry, it won't kill you. Li Wei struck her neck with his palm, and the rune sank into her flesh. A transcendent power pulsed from Wu Hongling's brow, but she neither retaliated nor evaded. She realized the fissure was closing rapidly, leaving her no time to waste. Just a spell from a spiritual master, she thought, the Rice Palace has sages of unparalleled power who can neutralize it. What could a provincial spiritual master possibly know of the vast abilities of the world's true masters? Perhaps this could lull him into complacency, leading to his demise. Li Wei took the lead, clearing the path ahead, while Wu Hongling retreated behind him to recuperate. Once she had regained her qi, she activated her escape technique, seizing Li Wei's wrist and propelling them upward in a massive leap. They repeated this cycle tirelessly. After an indeterminate amount of climbing, the fissure had narrowed to an impossibly tight space. Li Wei activated the governor's robe, finally triggering a reaction. His body was enveloped in a swirling orb of purple mist, allowing him to transcend space. In the next instant, he emerged above the sea surface. Outside, the night sky blazed with countless stars, their reflections shimmering across the ocean's surface. The night breeze brushed against Li Wei's face, filling him with exhilaration. Remembering the potential threat lurking below, he immediately focused his psychic power to scan the seabed, searching for any sign of Wu Hongling's escape. The seawater obstructed his psychic probe, limiting his perception to the surface layer. Unlike in the air, where his psychic power could extend for dozens of miles, the water's density severely restricted its range. Li Wei closed his eyes, sensing the location of the Six Desires talisman. She actually escaped. Splash. 10 miles away, Wu Hongling burst from the water, activating her body technique to flee at breakneck speed. Li Wei, we'll meet again. Li Wei activated his governor's robe, executing consecutive spatial jumps to swiftly catch up with her. He stepped onto the white mist dragon soul released from the robe. Immortal maiden, please don't leave. You've been afflicted by my Six Desires talisman. I'm deeply concerned for your safety. It's fine. This is far enough. If you pursue further, I'll have to activate the power in my brow, Wu Hongling replied, her colorful phoenix wings unfurling as she soared into the sky. Li Wei drew his 2-meter-long 1,000-inscription spirit bow, knocked an arrow, and locked onto her. You'd be wise to inquire about the Six Desires talisman. It's no ordinary charm, it's notoriously difficult to dispel. Even seeking help from your sect elders would severely damage your reputation, disqualifying you from becoming a true disciple. True disciples must remain utterly untainted. The Six Desires talisman, planted by a great spiritual master, can only be neutralized by transcendence. Given Li Wei's current psychic power, even ordinary holy spiritual king might struggle to dispel the talisman within her. Whether Rice Palace had sent a holy spiritual king of that caliber to the East Sea remained uncertain. Moreover, considering Wu Hongling's exceptional talent, why would she venture to the East Sea at such a critical juncture in her pursuit of the immortal realm unless she harbored delusions of becoming a true disciple? She must be pinning her hopes on the opportunities hidden within the ancient immortal dragon remains. Thwack! An arrow shot forth. The seawater beneath Li Wei's feet rippled in concentric circles from the impact. Wu Hongling deployed her mirror-shaped spiritual artifact to defend, but the force of the strike injured her again, blood streaming from her nose and mouth, leaving her in a wretched state. Li Wei pursued relentlessly, maintaining a safe distance and periodically firing arrows to wear her down. Across the sea, the sound of a zither drifted on the wind. Clang! A piercing pluck of the strings transformed into a semi-transparent sonic blade, slicing through Li Wei's 7-clawed heavenly dragon fire arrow and shattering it into flames. The zither music emanated from a 9-meter-long azure boat. A veiled woman in purple robes sat gracefully within the vessel, her fingers dancing across the strings of the ancient zither resting on her lap. Her white hair cascaded around her shoulders, a crimson hairpin painted between her brows, her fingertips moving with lightning speed. An extraordinary aura emanated from her, calming the sea within several kilometers of the azure boat into a mirror-like stillness that perfectly reflected the starry sky above. The slender azure boat, adorned with copper lanterns hanging from its canopy, seemed to float among the stars. Clang! Wu Hongling retracted her colorful feathered wings and stumbled onto the azure boat, her long hair disheveled and her Taoist robe stained with blood, nearly collapsing. You're severely injured. The purple-robed woman bore an uncanny resemblance to Wu Hongling, yet her eyes were deep and serene, radiating an air of profound wisdom and composure that would remain unshaken even in the face of death. Lend me your strength, Wu Hongling pleaded. I need to unleash the transcendence power from the spirit realm to kill him, tear him to shreds, flay him alive. Wu Hongling was furious with Li Wei. First, he ambushed and gravely wounded her, then stole Hongling red silk and planted an unknown curse upon it. After that, he relentlessly shot arrow after arrow at her. She could only passively endure the attack, unable to retaliate. The humiliation felt like being stripped naked, violated, and having the act immortalized in a drawing. Li Wei pursued her with his bow until he was 3 li from the azure boat. Noticing the sea's waves had vanished, leaving the surface eerily smooth, he immediately halted. He fixed his gaze on the small boat illuminated by copper lanterns, sensing the increasingly murderous notes of the zither. Wu Hongling stood at the bow, a trail of blood at the corner of her mouth, deliberately taunting him. Brother Wei, why are you afraid to come closer? You're so powerful, could you be scared? Li Wei's gaze fell on the purple-robed woman. Recognizing her identity, he laughed loudly. Stop playing around. With eldest sister-in-law here, neither of us can truly let loose. Farewell. Since you managed to wound Hongling, your strength must be extraordinary. Why rush off so quickly? Allow me to play you a tune. Stay, my lord. As the sunset paints the sky, I urge you to stay. The purple-robed woman plucked a string, and the sea began to churn. Crimson sunset clouds materialized out of thin air. Then, a massive, blood-red sun rose from the water before Li Wei, its scorching light and heat radiating like a mountain. Amidst the melodious strains of the zither, the 3 li radius transformed, shifting from the depths of night to the twilight of dusk. This was the work of a pre-arranged formation, its power formidable. Li Wei had sensed the formation's fluctuations upon entering the sea area, prompting him to halt immediately and retreat decisively. Boom. The setting sun descended, its weight causing the sea to sink. Li Wei dared not underestimate the threat. He activated the purple heaven thunder seal, unleashing the myriad inscriptions artifact's power to shatter the descending sun. Dozens of violet thunder dragons surged forth in reverse, stirring up colossal waves that raced toward the azure boat 3 li away. A flicker of surprise crossed the purple-robed woman's eyes as her 10 fingers pressed down on the zither strings. Instantly, 10 layers of defensive formation light veils rose around the azure boat, blocking the incoming thunder and lightning. Hongling's defeat was no accident, the purple-robed woman remarked. I never imagined there could be such a young powerhouse beneath the Lingxiao realm and Immortal Realm. Your zither music is indeed melodious, eldest sister-in-law, Li Wei replied, retreating as he spoke, but for one so young and vibrant, your spiritual qi carries an unsettling aura of decay. Behind him, Xuanhuan, disguised as Li Wei and wielding the myriad manifestation staff spear, descended gracefully from the night sky onto the sea surface. Move quickly. Sheng Wulian and Junxin are also in this area. Li Wei and Xuanhuan activated their governor's robes, teleporting away through space. They fled the sea, arriving at an uninhabited island 300 miles away. Before Li Wei could ask why she was in the area, Xuanhuan asked, who were you calling, eldest sister-in-law, earlier? Just a joke. Li Wei replied, I don't even know their real names. The white-haired, purple-robed woman and the crimson-feathered, red silk dancer, Xuanhuan explained, are heaven's chosen daughters cultivated by divine mountain of the rice palace using ancient immortal phoenix blood. They are the 2 strongest individuals below the true disciple level. Their martial mystic Dao cultivation is evenly matched, but the purple-robed woman's psychic power, scholarly aptitude, and formation mastery are exceptional, giving her a slight edge in overall strength. Li Wei asked curiously, why are you all gathered here? Your disappearance, along with Wu Hongling and Chongji Daozi, has alarmed the Rice Palace, the Zhuli clan, and the Xuanhu sect. Many martial mystic cultivators are searching for you. What exactly happened? Xuanhuan pressed. It's a long story, Li Wei replied, I need to speak with the higher-ups. Wait a while longer, Xuanhuan said. Soon after, Tang Zan, Zhu Kashir Chongtian, and other top experts below the immortal realm of Lingxiao realm, who had been searching and battling in the surrounding sea, gradually returned to the uninhabited island. On the azure boat, the purple-robed woman asked, slightly surprised, Lu Fengshu is the Zhuli divine hidden one. Absolutely true, Wu Hongling replied. The purple-robed woman said, even if you told this to others, I doubt anyone would believe you. First, Li Wei would never antagonize the Zhuli clan over the Huangshu for coup d'. Second, he would never risk his life to board a twin rice sect warship for her sake. Third, Li Wei has been fighting us these past few days. But even if the world doesn't believe you, I do. How could you have been defeated so utterly? According to my information, his cultivation hasn't even reached the peak of the Dao Seed realm. Moreover, with his ancestral field shattered, he can only cultivate the Wind Mansion, which severely diminishes his combat prowess at the same realm. Wu Hongling, wanting to change the subject, asked, Sister, have you heard of the Six Desires talisman? The purple-robed woman's expression turned grave. Her eyes seemed to possess the ability to see through all worldly illusions as she reached out with 2 fingers to touch Wu Hongling's neck. Instantly, a rune-like mark surfaced. Her face paled. This must never reach the ears of those above. I'll find a solution myself. Otherwise, we'll both lose everything forever. The purple-robed woman paused, sensing something. Across the sea, a distant voice carried on the wind, what are you trying to conceal? The purple-robed woman and Wu Hongling exchanged a glance before kneeling on one knee in unison. Greetings, true disciple Sheng. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.